The survey vessel hung in the darkness above Earth like a silver needle catching starlight. Inside the command deck, Commander Vexthal studied the planet below with all four of his crystalline eyes. His skin reflected the blue and green glow of the world, creating tiny rainbows across the metal walls. "Still no signals," said Science Officer Quillix, her insect-like mandibles clicking together. She tapped at her console with thin, precise fingers. "No radio waves, no electromagnetic emissions, no light pollution. The planet is dead, Commander." Vexthal nodded slowly. 300 years ago, this system had shown brief signs of early space travel. The Galactic Council had marked it for future observation, but when scouts returned decades later, everything had gone silent. The consensus was clear. Whatever civilization had lived here had destroyed itself or been destroyed. "What do the surface scans show?" Vexthal asked. Quillix brought up images on the main screen. Crumbling structures rose from thick forests. Roads had become rivers of green. Massive buildings stood like ancient tombstones, their windows empty and dark. Nature had reclaimed everything. "The atmospheric composition is still suitable for carbon-based life," Quillix reported. "Water is abundant. The ecosystem appears healthy, even thriving. But there are no cities, no farms, no infrastructure. Whatever species built these structures is gone." Navigator Thum drifted closer, his gaseous form swirling inside his containment suit. "Perhaps they migrated, left the planet?" "No orbital debris," Quillix said. "No signs of mass exodus, no abandoned satellites or space stations. They simply vanished." Vexthal made his decision. "Prepare a landing team. We will document this fallen civilization and collect samples. Perhaps we can learn what happened here and prevent it from happening elsewhere." The landing site was chosen carefully. The ruins of what their computers identified as Sol, a major population center, offered the best chance of finding intact artifacts. The landing shuttle descended through clouds, over mountains thick with trees, and touched down in what had once been a plaza. Now wildflowers grew between broken stones. Vexthal stepped onto Earth's surface, his heavy boots crushing yellow flowers. The air was rich with oxygen, almost intoxicating. Birds sang in the distance. Wind rustled through leaves that grew on buildings. It was beautiful and sad at the same time. "Spread out," he ordered. "Document everything, and stay alert." Quillix moved toward a collapsed building, her scanner humming. Thum floated above the ground, examining strange symbols on a fallen sign. Vexthal walked slowly through the ruins, trying to imagine the beings who had built all this. They had been builders, clearly. The structures were impressive even in decay. They had understood engineering, architecture, art. Some buildings still showed faded colors, hints of decoration. These people had valued beauty, not just function. In the center of the plaza stood a stone monument, somehow still intact. Vexthal approached it carefully. The stone was carved with figures, bipedal creatures with 2 arms, 2 legs, and forward-facing eyes. "Predator eyes," he noted with interest. The inscription below was weathered but visible. "Commander," Quillix called out, "I have found something." He joined her inside what appeared to be a public building. The roof had partially collapsed, letting sunlight stream through. But on the walls, protected from the weather, were images, pictures of the creatures who had lived here. They were smaller than Vexthal, standing on 2 legs. Their skin appeared soft, vulnerable. No scales, no natural armor, no obvious weapons. Just soft flesh and simple clothing. They had hair on their heads in various colors. Their faces showed emotion in the images: joy, sadness, determination. "They look so fragile," Thum observed. "Most species are," Quillix said. "That is why they build societies, create technology, to protect themselves from the universe." Vexthal studied the images. "Begin cataloging. We need samples of their writing, their art, their technology. The Council will want a complete report." For hours they worked, moving through the ruins carefully. They found remnants of vehicles, their metals rusted and broken. They found what might have been marketplaces, schools, homes. Everywhere, nature had moved in. Vines grew through windows. Trees pushed through floors. Animals nested in corners. It was during the 4th hour that Quilix detected something odd. "Commander, I am reading movement. Large movement. Approximately 40 meters northwest." Vexthal activated his weapon scanner. "Life form?" "Yes. Carbon-based. Roughly the size of the extinct inhabitants." Thum spun nervously in his suit. Could there be survivors? After 3 centuries? "Unlikely," Quilix said. "More likely a native animal that evolved to fill the ecological niche." They moved cautiously toward the reading. Vexthal's hand rested on his stun weapon. First contact protocols were clear. Observe, do not engage. But if threatened, defend. The reading led them to a partially collapsed structure covered in ivy. Inside, shadows made it difficult to see. Vexthal activated his light, scanning the interior. Empty, just broken furniture and more plants. "The reading has moved," Quilix said, confused. "Now 30 meters east." "It is watching us," Thum said quietly. A chill ran through Vexthal's body. The idea of being observed, studied by something unknown, was unsettling. He was the observer. He was the one documenting. They continued their work, but now with heightened awareness. Every shadow seemed suspicious. Every sound might be a threat. The pleasant bird song now sounded like warnings. As the sun began to set, painting the ruins in orange and gold, Vexthal ordered a return to the shuttle. They had collected enough samples for one day. Analysis could wait until they were safely aboard the ship. What none of them saw was the figure watching from the roof of a nearby building. Jiwan lay flat against the stone, his breathing controlled, his body perfectly still. He had been trained for reconnaissance since childhood, taught to observe without being observed. But his heart pounded as he watched the aliens board their shuttle. Real aliens. Living, breathing beings from another world. His entire life, the elders had spoken of this possibility, and now it was real. The shuttle lifted off, its engines barely making a sound. Jiwan waited until it was just a speck in the darkening sky before he moved. He had to report this. Commander Hyejin needed to know. Earth was not alone anymore. High above, in the command deck of the survey vessel, Vexthal prepared his report. The planet designated Earth appears to have suffered a complete civilization collapse approximately 300 years ago. The extinct species showed signs of early technological development, but were unable to survive an unknown catastrophic event. Recommendation: catalog as failed civilization, Class 4. Further study recommended to understand failure conditions. He filed the report and looked down at the planet one more time. Such a beautiful world. Such a waste. If only they had been stronger, he thought. If only they had survived. Jiwan ran through the underground tunnels like his life depended on it. His boots echoed off the metal walls as he descended deeper into the earth. Emergency lights guided his path, painting everything in blue and white. His breath came fast, but not from exhaustion. From excitement, from fear, from the weight of what he had witnessed. The entrance to New Sol appeared ahead. Massive blast doors built to withstand anything the surface world could throw at them. 2 guards stood at attention, their weapons lowered when they recognized Jiwan. "I need to see Commander Hyejin," Jiwan gasped. "Right now. It is urgent." One guard spoke into his radio while the other scanned Jiwan's identification chip. Within seconds, the doors began to open, revealing the city beyond. New Sol was a marvel of human engineering. Carved from solid rock over 2 centuries, it housed 50,000 people in comfort and safety. Vertical farms grew food under artificial sunlight. Water recycling systems provided clean drinking water. Schools, hospitals, homes, shops, everything a society needed. All hidden beneath the earth. Jiwan sprinted through the main corridor, past surprised citizens, past children playing in the central park under simulated sky. He reached the command center and burst through the doors. Commander Hyejin looked up from her desk, her expression calm but alert. At 28, she was young for her position, but she had earned it through skill and intelligence. Beside her stood Doyun, the chief engineer, his weathered face creased with concern. "Jiwan," Hyejin said, "you were supposed to report in 3 hours ago." "What happened?" "Aliens," Jiwan managed. "On the surface. A shuttle. 3 of them, maybe more. They were examining the ruins. They think we are extinct. Silence filled the room. Doyen's eyes widened. Hyejin stood slowly, her hand moving to her communication device. You are certain? She asked. I watched them for 4 hours, Jiwon said. I took pictures. He pulled out his camera, hands shaking slightly as he showed them the images. Crystalline skin. Insect features. A being made of gas inside a suit. Hyejin studied the pictures carefully. This changes everything. Doyen, check our sensors. See if we detected their ship. Doyen moved to a console and began typing rapidly. Their high orbit. We thought it was a satellite. But the energy signature is all wrong. It is definitely a vessel. A large one. Are they hostile? Someone asked. They did not attack me, Jiwon said. They were just exploring. Taking samples. They seem to think Earth is dead. Hyejin made her decision quickly. Activate Protocol 7, I want full sensor sweeps. Contact all other underground cities. And someone find Yoonji. I need her in communications immediately. Within minutes, the command center filled with people. Yoonji, a 19-year-old communications specialist, arrived breathless. She had been in the middle of dinner when the call came. What do we do? Doyen asked. Do we hide? Do we make contact? They already landed once, Hyejin said. They will land again. If we hide, they will confirm their belief that we are extinct. But if we reveal ourselves, we expose everything, Doyen finished. 300 years of hiding. Our entire survival strategy. Jiwon stepped forward. Commander, I request permission to make contact. Everyone turned to look at him. Hyejin raised an eyebrow. Explain. I was close enough to touch them, Jiwon said. They were not looking for survivors. They were documenting what they thought was a dead civilization. If I approach them peacefully, show them we are alive, we control the narrative, we make the first move. It is too dangerous, Doyen argued. We know nothing about them. Their biology, their culture, their intentions. Which is exactly why we need to make contact, Jiwon countered. Eventually, someone from the galaxy will find us. Better to choose the moment than to be discovered by accident. Hyejin considered this. She looked at the images again. The aliens had weapons, yes, but they had not used them. They had been careful with the ruins, respectful even. Scientists, not soldiers. I will go with him, Yoonji said suddenly. Everyone turned to her. She swallowed nervously but continued. If we are making contact, we need communication support. I speak 15 languages. Maybe I can find common ground. No, Hyejin said firmly. If we do this, I lead the team. Jiwon, you guide us. Yoonji, you handle communications. Doyen, you come as our technical specialist. 3 of them, 3 of us. That feels right. And if they attack? Doyen asked. Then we run, Hyejin said simply. We have prepared for this possibility. Our ancestors built escape routes for a reason. The next morning, sensors detected the alien shuttle returning to the surface. The same location. The same team. Hyejin's group was already in position, hidden in the ruins, watching. They are so strange, Yoonji whispered, staring at the crystalline commander. Beautiful in a way. Stay focused, Hyejin commanded. She studied the aliens' movements, their body language. They seemed cautious but not afraid. Curious, that was good. Curiosity could be worked with. Jiwon, she said. You said they were examining a monument yesterday. The one in the central plaza. Yes, Commander. Take us there quietly. They moved through the ruins like ghosts. Years of living underground had taught them stealth, patience, and silence. They positioned themselves near the monument, close enough to observe but still hidden. The alien commander approached the monument, running his hand over the carved figures. He seemed fascinated by it. Behind him, the insect-like scientist scanned everything with her instruments. This was the moment. Hyejin nodded to Jiwon. He stood up slowly, stepping into view. His heart hammered in his chest. He was about to speak to an alien. The first human to do so in recorded history. The aliens noticed him immediately. The commander's hand went to his weapon. The scientist made a sharp clicking sound. The gas being swirled frantically in his suit. Jiwon raised his hands, palms forward. Universal sign of peace, he hoped. Then he spoke using simple English words. You are wrong. We are not dead. The aliens froze. The commander's crystalline eyes locked onto Jiwon. For a long moment, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Then the scientist's translator device activated, processing Jiwon's words. It beeped and chirped, struggling with the language. Finally it spoke in a mechanical voice that all of them could somehow understand. Translation incomplete. You are alive? You are human? Yes, Jiwan said. Human. We survived. The commander stepped forward slowly, his weapon still drawn but pointed at the ground. How? He asked, his voice deep and resonant. We detected no signals, no cities, no technology. We are underground, Jiwan explained. Hidden. Rebuilding. Hyejin and the others stepped into view now. The aliens tensed, but Jiwan's calm demeanor seemed to reassure them. Hyejin approached slowly, stopping a respectful distance away. My name is Hyejin, she said. I command New Seoul, a city beneath this mountain. There are 50,000 of us there, and we are not the only city. The alien commander looked at his scientist, who was frantically scanning all of them. Then he looked back at Hyejin. Slowly, very slowly, he holstered his weapon. I am Vexatal, he said, commander of the survey vessel Eternal Seeker. I speak for the Galactic Council. He paused. We believed you were extinct. We chose silence, Hyejin replied. It was the only way to survive. Survive what? Vexatal asked. A solar storm, Doyen spoke up. 307 years ago. It destroyed our electromagnetic infrastructure, killed billions. We adapted. We went underground. We learned to live without technology that could be detected from space. The scientist Quelix made an excited clicking sound. Remarkable. You survived without electromagnetic emissions? Impossible. Not impossible, Yunji said, smiling slightly. Just difficult. Vexatal looked at his team, then back at the humans. This is unprecedented. We must report this to the council. We would prefer, Hyejin said carefully, that you see our city first. Understand what we have built, what we have become. Then make your report. It was a risk, inviting aliens into their most secret place. But Hyejin knew that trust had to start somewhere. Vexatal considered this. Then slowly he nodded. Show us, he said. Show us how humanity survived. The journey through the overgrown ruins was tense and silent. Hyejin led the way with Jiwon and Yunji flanking the three aliens. Doyen walked at the rear, constantly checking his scanner for any threats. The aliens kept their hands near their weapons but did not draw them. Vexatal observed everything with intense curiosity. The way the humans moved through the terrain with such ease, the way they communicated with small gestures and glances. They were coordinated, trained, and clearly not primitive survivors clinging to existence. How many cities? Vexatal asked as they walked. 17 major ones, Hyejin replied, scattered across the planet, connected by deep underground tunnels. Each city is self-sufficient, but we share resources and knowledge. Quelix's mandibles clicked rapidly. 17 cities, 50,000 each. That would mean 850,000 humans, Doyen finished. Give or take. Our population is growing slowly. We are careful not to exceed our resources. Thum floated closer, his gaseous form swirling with what might have been excitement. You have maintained civilization for 3 centuries without anyone knowing. We had no choice, Yunji said. After the solar storm, anyone who stayed on the surface died from radiation or starvation. Our ancestors built the first underground shelters as emergency bunkers. Over time, they became permanent cities. They reached the base of a mountain. To the aliens, it looked like any other mountain, covered in trees with small streams running down its sides. Birds nested in the rocks. Nothing suggested that beneath it lay an entire city. Hyejin pressed her hand against what appeared to be solid stone. A hidden panel lit up, scanning her palm and eye. There was a deep rumbling sound. Then the mountain itself began to open. Massive doors covered in decades of carefully cultivated moss and vines swung inward. Behind them lay a tunnel large enough to drive vehicles through. Lights activated automatically, revealing a smooth passageway that descended into the earth. Incredible camouflage, Vexatal admitted. Our sensors detected nothing. That is the point, Hyejin said with a small smile. Welcome to New Seoul. They walked down the tunnel for several minutes. The aliens noticed how the temperature stabilized, how the air grew fresher instead of staler. Advanced ventilation systems hummed quietly in the walls. The engineering was impressive even by galactic standards. Then they reached the main doors. These were not hidden, they were magnificent. 20 meters tall, made of reinforced steel, decorated with murals showing humanity's history. The solar storm, the descent underground, the first farms. The first children born in safety. The doors opened. Bexthal stopped walking. His 4 eyes widened. Beside him, Quillix made a sound that her translator could not process. Thum simply floated in stunned silence. Before them stretched an underground city that should not exist. The cavern was enormous, carved from solid rock and reinforced with elegant structural supports. Buildings rose 5 and 6 stories high, their designs blending functionality with beauty. Streets were organized in a logical grid. Trees grew in massive planters, their leaves green and healthy under specialized lighting that mimicked sunlight. People walked the streets. Real people, thousands of them. Children played in parks. Vendors sold food in outdoor markets. Musicians played on street corners. Life. Normal, vibrant, thriving life. This is impossible, Quillix whispered. The energy requirements alone. Geothermal and fusion, Doyen explained. We built the fusion reactors slowly over decades. Small ones at first, then larger as our knowledge grew. The planet provides heat. We provide ingenuity. A crowd was gathering now, drawn by the news that aliens had arrived. But there was no panic. Children pointed and asked questions. Adults watched with curiosity mixed with caution. This was a society used to discipline and order. Hyejin led them to the central administration building. Along the way, Vexthal noted everything. The schools where children learned mathematics and history. The hospitals with advanced medical equipment. The libraries filled with books and digital archives. The gyms where people exercised. The restaurants where families ate together. You have universities, Quillix observed, pointing to a large complex. 3, Yunji said proudly. We teach everything from basic education to advanced sciences. Knowledge is our most precious resource. We cannot afford to lose it. They entered the administration building and took an elevator down several more levels. The conference room was simple but comfortable. Holographic displays showed maps of all 17 cities, connected by thin lines representing the tunnel networks. Please, sit. Hyejin gestured to chairs that had been quickly modified to accommodate different body types. Human engineers had worked fast. Vexthal sat carefully, his crystalline body catching the light. I must ask the obvious question. Why did you not call for help? 300 years is a long time to remain silent. Hyejin looked at Doyun, who brought up images on the holographic display. They showed the solar storm, satellites exploding, cities burning, billions dying in the chaos that followed. We did call for help, Hyejin said quietly. For the first 30 years, we sent signals into space. Radio waves, laser pulses, everything we could manage with our damaged technology. No one came. Eventually, we realized we were on our own. The storm must have destroyed your signals before they left the system, Vexthal said. The galactic community never heard your distress calls. By the time we realized that, we had already committed to survival underground. Doyen continued. We debated for years. Should we rebuild on the surface and risk another disaster? Should we try to make contact with potential alien civilizations? In the end, we chose patience. Patience? Thum echoed. We were weak, Hyejin explained. Vulnerable. We did not know if alien species would help us or exploit us, so we decided to rebuild first, to become strong, to heal our planet, and then when we were ready to reach out on our own terms. Quillix's translator crackled. But you are reaching out now. What changed? You found us anyway, G1 said from his position by the door, which means others will eventually find us too. Better to control when and how that happens. Vexthal nodded slowly. It made sense. These humans were not desperate survivors. They were careful strategists who had played a very long game. And won. I need to see more, Vexthal said. The Council will not believe this without extensive documentation. Your agriculture, your technology, your society, everything. Of course, Hyejin agreed. We have nothing to hide. Not anymore. Over the next several hours, the aliens toured New Seoul. They visited the vertical farms where vegetables grew in stacked layers under LED lights. They watched the water reclamation systems turn waste into pure drinking water. They examined the fusion reactors that powered everything. But what impressed them most was the people. In the schools, children learned multiple languages, advanced mathematics, and ethics. Teachers emphasized not just knowledge but wisdom. The mistakes of the past were taught carefully so they would never be repeated. In the medical centers, doctors treated patients with techniques that were both advanced and compassionate. They had developed new approaches to medicine during their isolation, combining technology with holistic understanding of human health. In the engineering workshops, teams collaborated on improvements to city systems. There was no single genius leading them. Everyone contributed. Everyone's ideas mattered. Your society is remarkably stable, Vexthal observed as they rested in a quiet park. Real grass grew here, soft and green. A small stream bubbled over smooth stones. It was peaceful in a way that many advanced civilizations had forgotten. We learned from our mistakes, Hyejin said. Before the solar storm, humanity was divided. Nations fought over resources. The rich ignored the poor. We nearly destroyed ourselves several times. The storm forced us to cooperate or die. We chose cooperation. But you still have leaders, Quilix noted. You have structure and hierarchy. Yes, but it is earned and temporary, Doyen explained. I am chief engineer because I am skilled and experienced. But in 5 years, someone else may be better qualified. We rotate leadership. We share power. No one is indispensable. As the sun set on the surface far above them, the city's lighting systems adjusted to create artificial evening. The effect was surprisingly natural. People began heading home for dinner. The aliens could smell food cooking from the restaurants and homes. I must report this to the council, Vexthal said finally. They will want to make a decision about Earth's status. What does that mean? Yoonji asked nervously. It means, Vexthal said carefully, that the galaxy must decide what to do about humanity. Whether to welcome you as equals, or protect you as primitives. Hyejin stood tall. We are not primitives, I know, Vexthal said. But convincing the council will not be easy. Many species fear what they do not understand, and humanity is very difficult to understand. He looked around at the impossible city, at the humans who had survived against all odds, at the civilization that had grown in silence and shadow. But I will try, he promised. I will show them what I have seen, and I will argue that Earth deserves recognition. Thank you, Hyejin said. That night the aliens slept in guest quarters prepared for them. Vexthal lay awake, his mind racing. Tomorrow he would return to his ship and send his report, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same. The news spread through the galactic network like wildfire. Earth was alive. Humanity had survived. The planet that had gone silent 3 centuries ago was actually home to nearly 1 million thriving individuals. Council representatives from dozens of species demanded more information. Some were excited. Others were afraid. Aboard the Eternal Seeker, Vexthal prepared detailed reports. But Quilix had a different idea. Commander, I request permission to study the humans more thoroughly, she said, not just their cities and technology. I want to understand their biology, their capabilities. Vexthal considered this. The council will ask questions about human physiology. They will want to know if humans pose a threat. Exactly, Quilix agreed. And we should have answers based on science, not speculation. Back in New Seoul, Hyejin received the request. She gathered her people to discuss it. They want to study us? Ji-won asked, uncomfortable with the idea. They want to understand us, Hyejin corrected. Which is fair. We know nothing about them either. Knowledge builds trust. What kind of studies? Doyen asked. Physical assessments, endurance tests, cognitive evaluations. Nothing invasive, Hyejin read from the alien request, and only with volunteers. Unji raised her hand. I will volunteer. As will I, said Ji-won. Eventually, 15 volunteers agreed to participate. Among them was Minho, a 16-year-old student known for his exceptional athletic abilities. His physical education teacher had recommended him. The tests began in New Seoul's medical facilities, modified to accommodate alien equipment. Quilix was meticulous, explaining every scan and measurement. Vexthal observed while Thum recorded everything. The first surprise came during basic health scans. Their immune systems are extraordinary, Quilix announced, studying the data. They can fight off infections that would kill most species. And their healing rate, a wound that would take my species 30 days to heal takes humans 5 or 6. She tested this carefully with a volunteer's permission, making a tiny cut on Ji-won's arm. Within hours, the bleeding had stopped. Within a day, the cut was nearly invisible. We heal fast because we had to, Ji-won explained. Our ancestors were hunters. If an injury stopped you from moving, you died. So our bodies learned to fix themselves quickly. The cognitive tests were next. Puzzles designed to measure problem-solving abilities. The results confused Quilix. You do not solve problems logically, she observed, watching Yunji work through a complex spatial reasoning test. You make intuitive leaps. You guess, and somehow you are correct more often than probability suggests. Yunji laughed. We call it intuition. Pattern recognition. Sometimes we understand things without knowing how we understand them. That should not work, Quillix muttered. That is not scientific. But the most shocking results came from the endurance tests. Minho stood on a treadmill in the gymnasium. Quillix had explained the test. Run until exhaustion. Most species could maintain steady movement for 20 to 30 minutes before their bodies gave out. Quillix expected similar results from humans. Minho started running at a comfortable pace. 10 minutes passed. 20. 30. He was breathing harder now, sweating, but still moving steadily. Quillix checked her instruments 3 times, certain they were malfunctioning. Is he not tired? Vexthal asked. He is very tired, Quillix said. His heart rate is elevated. He is burning energy rapidly, but he is not stopping. 40 minutes. 50. An hour. Minho finally slowed to a stop, bending over with his hands on his knees. He was exhausted, drenched in sweat, breathing hard, but he was smiling. Good run, he gasped. Quillix's mandibles trembled. That is impossible. You should be dead. Humans are persistence hunters, Doyen explained, handing Minho a bottle of water. Our ancestors hunted by following prey for hours, sometimes days. The prey would run fast and hide, but we would keep following. Eventually, the prey would collapse from exhaustion. We would simply walk up and kill it. Thum floated backward in his suit, clearly disturbed. You hunted by not stopping? Yes, Minho said, drinking deeply. We are not fast. We are not strong. But we do not quit. Vexthal looked at his science officer. How is this possible? Their cardiovascular system is extremely efficient, Quillix said, scrolling through data. They can regulate body temperature through sweating, which most species cannot do. And their skeletal structure supports upright running for extended periods. They are built for endurance. More tests followed. Humans could survive in temperature ranges from freezing cold to extreme heat. They could eat an enormous variety of foods, plants, meat, fungi, and digest most of it. They could adapt to high altitudes and low oxygen environments given time. Their eyes could see in both bright light and near darkness. But what truly frightened the aliens was a simple demonstration. Yejin stood before them with a hunting knife, an ancient human tool. She explained its history while the aliens watched nervously. This represents our nature, she said. We are not the fastest. We are not the strongest. We do not have claws or armor or venom, but we have this. She held up the knife. We make tools. We solve problems. We adapt to anything. She set the knife down and picked up a tablet instead. This is also a tool. We went from knives to computers in 10,000 years, from walking to flying in 100 years, from splitting atoms to fusion power in 70 years. We improve, we learn. We never stop. You scare them, Jiwan whispered to Heijin later, watching the aliens confer nervously among themselves. Good, Heijin replied. Respect comes from understanding capability. That evening, Vexthal called a meeting with the human leadership. His expression was troubled. I have sent my reports to the council, he said, but I must be honest with you. They are afraid. Of us? Yunji asked, surprised. Why? Because you are predators, Vexthal explained. Most species in the galaxy evolved as prey or as symbiotic organisms. Predator species are rare, and predator species with your level of endurance and adaptability are unknown. We do not hunt people, Jiwan protested. I know, Vexthal said, but the Council sees patterns. Throughout galactic history, when a predator species gains advanced technology, they often become conquerors. They expand. They dominate. It is their nature. That was our past, Heijin said firmly. Before the solar storm, yes, humans fought and conquered. We destroyed each other over resources and ideology. But we learned. The storm taught us that cooperation is stronger than competition. Quillix spoke up. I believe you. I have seen your society. You share resources. You rotate leadership. You teach cooperation to your children. But the Council will want proof that this is permanent, not temporary. How do we prove that? Doyen asked. Time, Vexthal said. The Council will propose a trial period. Earth will be recognized as a sovereign world. But you must prove you can interact peacefully with other species. You will have 1 year. And if we fail? Yunji asked quietly. Then Earth will be quarantined, protected but isolated. You will develop alone for the next 500 years before contact is attempted again. The room fell silent. 500 years of isolation. Everything they had worked for delayed for generations. We will not fail, Yijin said. We have survived 300 years of isolation. We have built 17 cities from nothing. We have maintained peace among ourselves when war would have been easier. We will prove to your council that humanity deserves a place among the stars. Vexthal looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. I believe you will try, and that is what I will tell the council. Later, as Minho walked home through the quiet streets of New Seoul, he thought about the aliens' fear. He understood it. Humans were scary. They could run until their prey collapsed. They could survive in almost any environment. They could adapt to anything. But the aliens did not understand the full truth. Yes, humans were persistent. Yes, they were adaptable. But their greatest strength was not physical. It was hope. Hope had driven humans underground when the surface became deadly. Hope had sustained them through 3 centuries of isolation. Hope had convinced them to build cities and have children and plant gardens and teach the next generation. Hope was what made humans truly dangerous. Because a species that never gave up, that always believed tomorrow could be better, that refused to accept defeat, that species could not be stopped. Minho smiled to himself. The galaxy was about to learn what humanity could do, and it was going to be interesting. The Galactic Council Chamber was a structure that defied easy description. Built in orbit above a neutral world, it housed representatives from 127 different species. The architecture accommodated beings that breathed different gases, existed at different temperatures, and perceived reality in different ways. Today, the chamber was more crowded than usual. Word had spread. The humans were coming. Vexthal stood at the speaker's platform, his crystalline body reflecting the thousands of lights in the chamber. He had spent 3 days presenting evidence. Images of New Seoul, videos of the vertical farms, data on human biology, testimony about their society and values. The reactions had been mixed. Some species were fascinated. The Kalari, a peaceful herbivore race, praised humanity's emphasis on cooperation and resource sharing. The Thendari, an aquatic species, admired the human ability to adapt to extreme environments. But others were afraid. The Zealoth, a prey species that had barely survived contact with predators in their own system, argued for immediate quarantine. The Vorath, a militant empire, saw humans as potential rivals and wanted them contained. The debate had raged for days. Now finally it was time for the vote. But first the humans would have their chance to speak. The chamber doors opened. Every being in the room turned to watch. Sumin walked forward calmly. She was 35 years old, chosen from hundreds of candidates to represent Earth before the galaxy. She was a historian, a diplomat, and a teacher. She understood humanity's past failures and future potential better than anyone. She wore simple clothing, not ceremonial robes or military uniform, just a practical suit that any human might wear to an important meeting. Her hair was pulled back. Her face was calm. She carried no weapons, no technology, no symbols of power, just herself. She reached the speaker's platform and looked out at the assembled galaxy. Beings of every imaginable shape and size stared back, some with dozens of eyes, some with none, some existing partially in dimensions she could not perceive. She was not afraid. "My name is Sumin," she began. Her words were translated instantly into 127 languages. "I speak for Earth, I speak for humanity." She paused, letting the silence settle. "You thought we were dead because we were silent. I understand why. Silence usually means absence. But for us, silence meant survival. It meant patience. It meant making a choice." She activated a holographic display showing Earth from space. Beautiful, blue and green and alive. 300 years ago, our world was burning. A solar storm destroyed our technology and killed billions. We were dying. We were desperate. We sent signals into space begging for help. No one came. Some beings in the chamber shifted uncomfortably. They had not known about the distress signals. We realized we were alone, truly alone, and we had to decide, would we give up or would we adapt? The hologram changed, showing the first underground shelters. Rough, desperate, but functional. We chose to adapt. We went underground. We built cities in the dark. We learned to grow food without sunlight. We preserved our knowledge, our culture, our humanity. And we waited. Why did you wait? A voice called out. It came from a Zealoth representative. Why not call for help once your technology recovered? Suman looked directly at the speaker. Because we did not know if you would help or hurt us. We were weak, vulnerable. History taught us that the weak are often exploited, so we decided to become strong first. She changed the hologram again, showing New Soul in all its glory, the chamber filled with surprised murmurs. This is what we built. Not just one city, but 17. Not just survival, but civilization. We did not do this for conquest or expansion. We did it because we refused to let our species die. But you are predators, another voice said. A Vorith commander. Predators always expand, always conquer. It is your nature. Yes, Suman said simply. The chamber went silent. We are predators. We evolved to hunt, to chase prey until it collapsed, to use tools and tactics to kill. This is our history. She looked around the chamber, meeting as many eyes as she could. But we are also more than our history. We are what we choose to become. And we have chosen cooperation over competition, peace over war, building over destroying. The hologram showed human children learning in schools, doctors healing patients, engineers working together on complex problems, artists creating beauty, scientists sharing discoveries. You measure civilization by expansion, Suman continued, by how many worlds you control, by how loud your signals are. We measured ours differently, by how many people we saved, by how well we learned from our mistakes, by whether our children could play safely in parks deep underground. She deactivated the hologram and stood alone in the light. We are not asking for your approval. We are not begging for acceptance. We are announcing our presence. Earth is alive, humanity survived, and we are ready to walk among the stars. But not as your students, she said firmly. Not as primitives who need your guidance. Not as children who need protection. As equals, as partners, as another voice in this great chorus of civilizations. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some species applauded, others argued. The noise grew louder and louder until the council leader called for order. The human makes bold claims, the leader said. Their species was ancient, having been part of the council for thousands of years. But words are easy. How do we know you can be trusted? You do not, Suman replied honestly. Trust is earned, not given. We understand this, so we propose a trial period. Give us 1 year. Watch us, test us. Let us prove that we can be peaceful members of the galactic community. And if you fail, the Zealoth representative demanded, then quarantine us, Suman said. Isolate Earth for as long as you think necessary. We have survived 300 years alone. We can survive 500 more if we must. The confidence in her voice was startling. She was not pleading. She was negotiating. The council leader considered this. Your proposal is acceptable. But understand the galaxy will be watching. Any act of aggression, any threat to another species, and Earth will be sealed away permanently. We understand, Suman said, and we accept these terms. The vote was called. 127 species cast their judgment on humanity's fate. Some voted yes immediately, others hesitated. The Zealoth delegation voted no. The Vorath abstained, but slowly, steadily the votes accumulated. When the final count appeared, Suman felt her heart race. 89, yes. 23, no. 15 abstentions. Earth was recognized as a sovereign world. The chamber erupted again, this time in genuine celebration. Species that had voted yes came forward to congratulate Suman. They asked questions about Earth, about human culture, about trade possibilities. For the first time in 300 years, humanity was part of something larger than itself. Suman returned to Earth a hero. She landed not in New Sol but on the surface. The underground cities had begun opening. Humans were returning to the sky, reclaiming their world while maintaining the wisdom they had learned in darkness. Jiwan met her at the landing site, along with Hijin, Doyun, Yunji, and Minho. They had watched the council proceedings via communication link, holding their breath through every moment. You did it, Jiwan said, grinning. We did it, Suman corrected. All of us. Every human who survived. Every person who chose hope over despair. Over the following months, Earth began its integration into galactic society. Embassies were established. Trade agreements were negotiated. Human scientists collaborated with alien researchers. Human artists shared their work with beings who had never encountered their aesthetic. Yunji headed the communications division, ensuring that human languages were properly added to galactic databases. She worked with linguists from dozens of species, building bridges through words. Doyen led engineering teams that combined human and alien technology. The results were remarkable: ships that traveled faster, buildings that lasted longer, medical devices that saved lives across multiple species. Hyejin commanded Earth's first space defense force, not for war but for protection, to ensure that humanity would never again be vulnerable to solar storms or other cosmic threats. Jiwon became a cultural ambassador, traveling to other worlds and teaching aliens about humanity. He found that most species were not scary at all. They were just different, and different was beautiful. Minho continued his studies, but now with alien teachers. He learned physics from the Thindari, biology from the Kalari, and philosophy from species whose names he could barely pronounce. His generation would be the first to grow up truly galactic. 1 year after first contact, Vextal returned to Earth. He stood with Suman on the surface, looking up at the stars. "You passed your trial," he said. "No incidents. No conflicts. The Council is impressed." "We are not trying to impress," Suman replied. "We are just being ourselves." "That is exactly why you succeeded," Vextal said. "Many species try to appear powerful or advanced. You appeared honest. That is rarer and more valuable." Above them, Earth's first interstellar vessel was being constructed in orbit. The New Dawn, they called it. It would carry human diplomats, scientists, and explorers to the far reaches of the galaxy. "What will you do now?" Vextal asked. "Now that you have the galaxy before you?" Suman smiled. "The same thing we have always done. Survive, adapt, learn, build. But now we will do it with friends beside us." She looked at Vextal.